Welcome to Invictus Motors. My name is Basheer Zaheer. We've got a Porsche 911 here with us. I will review this and tell you everything you need to know about it. And for the information, this is a 997 Generation 2 PDK, which were actually introduced in 2009. 997 Generation 2, what does that mean to us? Well, firstly, you get a brand new engine in here. This is the direct fuel injected engine, so they went away from the indirect fuel injected engines in sort of 2008 and introduced the DFI engines, which they've carried on up until recently, up until the present day. This is the 3.6 litre naturally aspirated Boxer 6 engine. And this basically eliminates all the issues that were common with the first generation 997.1s. I wouldn't say common is the right word, that less than about 3 or 4 or 5%, depending on which figures you take, suffered with bore scoring or with IMS failure. There isn't really hard data to back that up, but the 997 Generation 2 completely eliminated that. There's no more worries of your IMS leaking or failing to sort of kaput your engine. The DFI completely puts your mind at ease. Now, in terms of an optional, the 997 Carrera, just any Carrera, a box standard, the 3.6 litre, 6 litre Carrera engines don't have the twin sports tailpipes. They actually have a single triangle-ish, boxy kind of a tailpipe here and one on the other side. But if you actually spec it either with the twin sports tailpipes or with the sports exhaust, you get this sort of quad sports exhaust look on this. So this has the Porsche sports exhaust from factory. It's still working, considering this was manufactured in 2009, and it creates an absolutely phenomenal sound combined with the fact that this is naturally aspirated. That's everything you need to know on the 997 Generation 2 from an engine point of view. Now, they've had a redesign in terms of the rear bumper is a little bit more aggressive, especially this line, the LED lights, and the front bumper has been redesigned slightly. But in terms of the size, whether that's the width or whether it's the length, it's pretty much about the same thing. What does the 911 Carrera, just the basic Carrera, what does it actually mean to me personally? I'm a huge fan of them because of the really nimble, smaller body of the 911. And it sort of to me, evokes the characteristics of the smaller, nimble, tiny 911s that we commonly saw in the 90s, 80s, and the 70s and the 60s. To me, this is why I really love and enjoy looking at the 997 Generation 911s, because you had the option of having the S or the 4S, which were slightly wider bodied, as opposed to the basic 911 Carrera, smaller bodied. They look beautiful. The lines really flow through. They're extremely elegant and overall an absolutely amazing car to look at. Now, additionally, in terms of spec, this has the Arctic Silver metallic color. It's got the xenon headlights as an optional. The 911 Carreras, this is the 3.6 liters. They basically came with the 18-inch alloys. So it's got the 18-inch Carrera alloys. And if you actually purchased the Carrera S, you got the 19-inch alloys. I love the 18-inch alloys purely because they're extremely comfortable to drive around in. Now, on the inside, the spec is I would say, to my taste, beautiful. Some would call it rouge leather or ruffle leather. This is really old school premium leather, and somebody must have had a fair bit of money to actually spec their 911 with this sort of a leather. It's gorgeous to look at, gorgeous to sit on, extremely comfortable, and this was the premium leather that you could have spec'd fabric, but you then spec leather, which was an optional, and then you actually went a step ahead and thought, well, how about me specking the rouge or the ruffle leather? This is also extended leather, as you can see from the stitching here on the dash and from the back as well. It's finished in this beautiful grey leather on the inside with a smooth leather steering wheel. It's got the cruise control. You've got the PDK gearbox, which was a circa £2,000 optional, and you've got the button for the sports exhaust. And if you press this, you actually switch on the PCM, which is now touch screen, and you've got mobile Bluetooth connectivity, as well as you've got the access to the maps. This is currently done 80,000 miles. And let's just get into the driving seat, drive it, and tell you a little bit more about what it likes to drive and what sort of an owner's history it's had. And perhaps if you're interested in buying this, it is currently available, and you're more than welcome to reach out to discuss it with us further. Right from the get-go, it's always an experience getting in a Porsche. because of the low center of gravity and how far low you sit. Okay. You get a nice sound also when you start it from cold. And when you're just driving along, cruising, Porsches are phenomenal for being just understated and blending in. You don't think much of them, but if you know the heritage and what it represents and what it means and how this product has just developed over the many years, it's a true testament for Porsche to design a product like this that's evolved the way it has evolved. And this sound that we've just heard is basically from not pressing the sports exhaust button, just the natural bog standard sound that we got here. In terms of performance, what sort of performance does this give? The 3.6 litre naturally aspirated boxer engine, bhp wise, produces 345 brake horsepower and 370 newton meters of torque. This is not too far off from the 3.8 litre Carrera S, because that produces 380 bhp. So not a big difference here in terms of a bhp, and the 0 to 62 miles per hour is possible in this at 4.7 seconds. Let's hear this exhaust. Press that, which we have. Very beautiful sound at about 6,000 revs per minute. Sensational, a true beauty of a very natural sound that you get out of these cars, and this isn't, I think, possible nowadays with all the emission restrictions that we find in general that are being imposed on manufacturers, whereby even some of the cars have artificial sound. So fantastic to experience something raw and something that is produced from the engine. Now, what does the PDK mean? Because you could have optioned one of these in a manual. The PDK stands for the Doppelkupplungsgetriebe in German, which is exactly translated to dual clutch transmission. So you've got two clutches, one works of odd numbers, the other works of even numbers, and essentially the car doesn't have a clutch pedal but has two clutches, so it's considered a semi-automatic, and the gears can change in a blink of a second. If you're cruising along, which I will illustrate, let's get back onto the road. If you're cruising along like this, we're in third gear, it's going to fourth, we're at 32 miles an hour, now we're at fifth gear, 34 miles an hour, we're sixth gear. This is us cruising along. And now let me illustrate and watch this. This is the true beautiful thing about the PDK. And this is why they are considered to be one of the best sport gearboxes in a sports car. So as I was putting the foot down, the car intelligently, even before really lowering the accelerator pedal down, the car immediately recognized that sort of behavioral change and dropped to second gear. And if you'd like to drive your PDK in a manual, simply shift this across to the left, as I've just done. The car is holding in second gear. After, let's change, third gear, super. We're 50 miles an hour, slightly up, and we're in fourth gear. And this is the very beautiful thing about the PDK. Now, if you are looking for one of these, there aren't too many of these available. It's very restricted, especially the Generation 2, very restricted for availability. There aren't hundreds of them available as you can sometimes find with the previous generation or with the 996s. And that is because the 997 Generation 2s were sold around the recession time. There weren't many of these being ordered, being bought, purely because the kind of people that buy these have extremely deep pockets, and as few of these sold, Unfortunately, we're now left with a situation that if you truly want to experience one of this, you don't have all the options you would like to have. Behind me is a very nice example of what you can get if you don't want a 911 but want a Cayman. So the Cayman here is a 3.4 litre Cayman S with a 3.4 litre engine. This is the 3.6 litre engine in the 911. These are also modern classics in the sense not many of them sold, especially in the Cayman S. So this is the review I'll be doing next. Thank you for watching the driving part on this. Let's jump onto this now.